Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We're also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are back for week one of the NFL season, and we are doing our week one primer. So we're going to go matchup by matchup, and we're going to highlight any particular player or matchup that we like here, as well as we're going to predict who we think is going to win. Jeff, let's get kick-started with the opening game here. Thursday Night Football. Ravens at the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. What do you make of this matchup, and who do you have?
So this is a great opening night game. We're going to see how these players shape up and play against each other, especially now that Derrick Henry and Lamar will be on one side, and then Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he was building chemistry with Marquise Brown. So just a heads up, everybody, Marquise Brown is not expected to play in this game. So just a thought there. But I think over the overall firepower, and you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have and what they brought in, I just think that they're going to be harder to stop in game one at home, getting their rings. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs here.
All right. I am also taking the Kansas City Chiefs here. And I understand a lot of you probably took the Ravens and Chiefs defenses pretty high in your drafts, according to where defenses go. But if you have another matchup option, I'd prefer to go a different matchup rather than the Ravens or Chiefs defense in this one. Jeff,
People
you feel good
people
about
spent a high pick on Baltimore's defense, so we'll see if they have another one.
I mean, I think people spent a high pick on the Chiefs defense too. I think they were averaging like the fifth or sixth defense taken, and
I think you're correct. But I will let you go over and announce the next night's game. There's a game the very next night.
Yeah, Friday Night Football in Brazil. It's the green teams. It's the Packers at Eagles, and this is going to be a deciding game. It's going to let us know if the Packers are the real deal, if the Eagles are back with Kellen Moore at the offensive helm. It's going to let us know some things. So I'm very curious how it's going to turn out. I think the Eagles are a better team. I think that they're got more talent stuffed everywhere in that roster. So I'm going to go Eagles on this one, and I hope it's a high-scoring game all around.
Yeah, I think it has the hope of being that. But obviously, the first week of the season, teams are still working out the kinks, so it could be defensive kinks or it could be offensive ones as they gel together. I think this is going to be our first difference. You went the Eagles, right, Alex?
Yep, sure did.
And I'm gonna go the Packers on this one because there is really no home field advantage in this game.
Okay. Any other highlights from this matchup before we move on? Anything you want to pinpoint?
What if you had to start a Packers wide receiver? Which wide receiver would it be?
If I had to start a Packers, we don't know how Christian Watson's doing. I don't really feel good about the other ones there, so most likely Reed.
Okay. So we'll see, because this is going to probably be a week-to-week thing that we need to keep an eye out. This is a game that you watch to see which receiver to pick up off the waiver wire if, like, Wicks is on the waiver wire.
It's also probably going to be a heavy Josh Jacobs week because I don't think that Marshawn Lloyd is playing this week. So I think that Josh Jacobs is going to have a full workload.
Awesome. That should be a fire it up.
Okay. So next matchup here is Steelers at the Falcons. So Kirk Cousins, first game with the Falcons. He gets to play at home in a dome, and Steelers are coming to town. Steelers have a really fearsome defense that should be at pretty much full strength. Jeff, are you taking the Falcons or the Steelers this week?
I am going to go the Atlanta Falcons, and I have a little bit more faith in the quarterback situation and the number one wide receiver situation of it all. But I think this is one of those toss-up games very early in the season.
I agree. I think this is going to be basically Falcons offense versus the Steelers defense. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out. I can see it go either way, but I do lean Falcons at home. So I am taking the Falcons as well.
So we have 2 agreements and 1 difference so far. So you'll be going 3, or I'll be going 3-0, and you'll be going 2-1 so far.
All right, let's see if this continues going into this next matchup. We have the Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills. Jeff, who are you taking in this matchup?
So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills here. I just think that they're going to come out throwing the football very well. And this is a game here that I would consider locking up early in.
All right, I am also taking the Bills here.
I like that.
I don't think that there's a 0% chance that the Cardinals can win because Kyler Murray, if he's the quarterback that they want him to be, there's going to be a good chance that they're competitive. But I just think the Bills are still better.
Yeah, I trust in Josh Allen. I mean, Marvin Harrison is going as a 2nd rounder in drafts now. I just think that's far too high for a rookie with Kyler Murray. And I think that Michael Wilson is being faded way too much. He's going undrafted in some leagues. So just keep an eye on the number 2 wide receiver for the Cardinals because they could have a role in the passing game this year. And then obviously you want to pay attention to the Bills receivers to see how that shakes out.
All right. Titans at the Chicago Bears. Jeff, is there a clear winner here?
There is, I think, very early in the season here, I think that Caleb Williams does get his very first victory on his very first week, and that will be the Chicago Bears winning that game for me. And also, we can kind of see how the receiver order shakes out in game 1. And yeah, we're also going to have to keep an eye on the Titans and their running back situation to see who is potentially the lead back there because we really don't know there.
Yeah, this is something where I think with the Titans, it's a 50-50 split with Pollard and with Spears. With the Bears, we really don't know how that running back room is. Or if there is even a running back to own with the Bears, because they might be more pass happy than they have been in the past. Probably will lean Herbert, but he would probably be a bench player this week until we figure that out for sure. I'd probably start whoever you have between Pollard and Spears, at least in the flex, depending on your depth. We need to keep an eye on Hopkins to see if he plays or not this week. I think that this game is pretty close to a 50-50 matchup, but I would lean Bears because they're at home. It would also be nice for the Bears to get their first win with the new quarterback. But I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
Absolutely. What do you think the final score? What do you think that Chicago's going to put up in that game? Do you think it'll be high scoring, low scoring? What do you think of the Titans' defense? I don't really think much of them this year, but
I mean,
I know
they
had a few
improved,
signings.
but I wouldn't say they're anywhere close to having a top defense. Yeah, I don't think the Titans are that good overall, but I think they're more balanced than they were last year, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Calvin Ridley and Hopkins both being there. If Hopkins plays week 1, I think that they would certainly help Levis. I think having 2 versatile running backs helps Levis as well. Offensive line, not great, but they got a borderline Hall of Fame offensive line coach in Callahan there. I just think it's going to be a close game, and I would guess that neither team gets into the 30s. I would say it's probably like 24-21 or 21-17, something like that.
Gotcha. Oh, right. I was just wondering what you kind of expected from Caleb and Levis early, especially with all those weapons out there.
There's going to be a lot of big time throws and a lot of boneheaded turnovers at the same time.
It'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got on deck?
Next, Patriots at Bengals. Jeff, I'll let you get kickstarted on this too.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this game here, I think that the Bengals are going to come out really strong this year because Joe Burrow actually completed a whole preseason camp, whatever you want to call it, without getting injured and limping into the regular season. So they might actually hit the ground running this year. I think a lot depends on Jamar Chase. So we just want to really pay attention if Jamar Chase is going to be active week 1. If he's not, there's a few other receivers that I would look at there, like Burton and who's their slot receiver this year for the Bengals?
Iosopha?
Yeah. I got to learn how to say that name, so I'm going to make you say it until Iosopha. And so I'm going to go the Bengals in this one. Not going to draw
this is my lock of the week. The Bengals take this. even if they don't have Jamar Chase. So this is, if you're in a survival league, I think this is the pick of the week that you'll feel most comfortable with. The Bengals do have a challenging schedule that other games are not gimmies, so I would feel comfortable taking the Bengals this week.
All right. I don't think we have much to add to that one. I mean, we've got to pay attention to what Brissett does because we hope Drake May plays quicker
I
than
think I would
later.
still. The only person I'd feel okay starting for the Patriots is Ramondre Stevenson this week. I think that's about it. Even still, he'd be a flex.
Awesome.
All right, Texans at Colts. Jeff, who do you have here?
Oh, Alex. So this is one of Indy's major wins this year. I think this is going to be the game where Richardson versus Stroud, and Richardson's actually going to be fully healthy for this game. So this is kind of a little bit of a disadvantage for you guys. So there's not going to be any excuse or, well, we didn't have Anthony Richardson and he wasn't 100% kind of excuses. So this is a hit the ground running game for the Colts. I think the Colts have the better run game. They can control the game with Anthony Richardson running and Jonathan Taylor. And then you have Pittman and Mitchell and probably Downs. So I think Downs does play in this game. But give me the Indianapolis Colts for this one. Alex, who do you have?
I have the Texans. This whole offseason, everyone's been talking about how shaky Anthony Richardson has been throughout the preseason and through practice.
Yep.
Enough to where one of the teams in joint practices was giving him crap the entire week, saying that he wasn't very good. So I'm taking the Texans. The Texans who added a premier pass rusher and Danielle Hunter to go along with Will Anderson. I think that the Texans defense, to me, is a top 7 defense in the NFL. And I think that they're going to win this game, maybe even dominate this week 1 matchup. So I'm going Texans.
Awesome. So I'll just take the lead here with the Jaguars at the Dolphins. This game is a Florida Bowl and a really interesting Florida Bowl at that because I think this is going to be a very closely contested game. And I think the Dolphins have been extremely injured this preseason. So I think Waddle's missed time recently, Hill's missed time. And I wonder what level of preparation that they're going to have for week 1 as they're trying to get healthy and getting players into timing and rhythm. And I'm going to go ahead and go the Jacksonville Jaguars on this one.
I'm going to go the opposite direction here. I'm going the Dolphins this one. I think that the Dolphins are going to shred the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars defense is grossly overrated and overstated, and I think that the Dolphins defense is better than the Jaguars offense. So I'm going Dolphins. I think the Dolphins should dominate this one.
We will see there. That's a interesting thought, and we disagree. I think it's a short trip for Jacksonville, so we'll see. And I really like how Jacksonville looked in the preseason. They have a lot of weapons, and Trevor Lawrence looks as healthy and confident as he has in a long time. So I know you're believe it when you see it kind of guy, but you'll see it this year. So we get to move on to the Panthers and the Saints next. And in this one here, I have the Saints taking the Panthers out in week 1 at home. Alex, who do you have in this game?
All right. In this one, I have the Panthers beating New Orleans for this week.
Whoa. We'll see, because this will be the first full time that Bryce Young put Dave Canales' offense against the number 1 defense.
I think this is going to be the ugliest box score of the week. So the Saints still have a pretty decent defense. Panthers had a very good defense last year. Panthers offense should be better this week. I just think the Saints with Derek Carr aren't great. So I expect this to be a low scoring game, and I think the Panthers have a very good chance of winning. So I'm going Panthers.
Go Panthers, but I disagree with you on that. I'm voting against both of our teams this week. All right. So we have the Vikings at the Giants next. Alex, I'll let you go ahead and kick off this one here. Who do you got?
So I have the Vikings in this one. I think the Vikings are just a better team than the Giants at this point. I don't trust Daniel Jones. I don't necessarily like Sam Darnold either, but I think Sam Darnold's better than Daniel Jones. I think Minnesota has more weapons, better offensive line play, better running back situation. I know it's at home for the Giants, but I don't think that really moves the needle for them. So give me Minnesota this week.
All right. And I am going to go the opposite direction with the New York Giants. I just believe that watching Sam Darnold put this offense on the field for the first time versus Daniel Jones, who has been playing in the preseason. And we have Neighbors out there, and Singletary should be fine for at least week 1. Obviously, we have to worry about his durability throughout the year. But yeah, I'm going to go the opposite on you on this one.
Interesting.
Okay, so we can hop over to the next game. It's the Raiders at the Chargers. I'm going to let you lead off on this one because I kind of know where you're going to go with this. And this is going to be one of our biggest battles of the week.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that I'm taking the Raiders, and Jeff, I'm fairly certain you're taking the Chargers.
Yes.
I feel like if the Raiders are going to get the Chargers, it's going to be week 1 because the Raiders are more cohesive and are carrying over momentum from last year, whereas the Chargers completely redid their offense and got rid of players and brought in different players and new coaching. So I just think I think the Raiders are in the better spot to start the year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, and I am going to go the opposite way because I can kind of see how the Chargers are going to start off hitting the ground running, and that means literally and figuratively they have 4 running backs that they could potentially run the ball with week 1, and we will see what Justin Herbert looks like, but I have all the confidence in the world in Justin Herbert, and I'm going to go the Chargers. Go, Chargers,
All right.
go.
All right, so we've got Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks. If this was at home for the Broncos, I might be tempted to pick the Broncos, but it's away in Seattle. I mean, I know Seattle's got a new coaching staff, but they still got a very good team, if not great team. I think that they're still got good pieces. I think Seattle will win, but it would not shock me if the Broncos somehow surprised. So hedging my bet there. I think Seattle win, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos won.
Yeah, I got Seattle, and this is going to be my lock it up of the week. I just foresee a rookie quarterback being overwhelmed by a Seattle defense that is much better than people will expect. So just mark that down. Seattle is one of those defenses that I could see coming out the gate this year, and you don't see it coming. And a rookie quarterback with just Cortland Sutton and not much else might struggle a little bit.
They have Javonte Williams. You love Javonte Williams.
I do like Javonte this year because I think he's so underrated this year. I've been just scooping him up in fantasy leagues left and right. I would not be afraid to start Javonte Williams.
All right. Now we can move on to 2 teams that I don't care for, and that's the Dallas Cowboys at the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to go Cowboys this one. I don't think the Browns are that good of a team. Yes, they're at home. Yes, their defense is really good at home. I just think their offense is miserable. And I think Dallas is a better overall team. So I'm going to go with Dallas.
All right. We are in complete agreement on this one. I'm also going Dallas. I think they're the better team. I think they'll hit the ground running, and I think they'll travel fine on week 1. So I don't think there's any travel concerns with them.
Okay, just 3 more matchups here. So we got Commanders at Buccaneers.
Yeah. I'll start this one here. And I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers giving Jaden Daniels his very first loss. But I would start Jaden Daniels in most fantasy leagues. I would probably leave Noah Brown on the bench until you see what he actually is.
Okay, man, I think that this is another 50-50 matchup. I mean, the Buccaneers should have the advantage. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. They're at home. They were pretty decent last year. I don't know if I would start Jaden Daniels week 1. I think the Buccaneers are a pretty decent defense, especially at home. I mean, I would consider it, but I would say he's just outside my top 12 for this week, if that makes a difference for you guys.
That would be interesting, so we'll see what happens.
I just kind of want to see a week or 2, before I feel comfortable throwing him out there.
Yeah, he might be the Lamar Jackson of this year, so we'll see.
Okay. So we're both going Buccaneers on that one.
Yes, sir.
All right. Rams at Lions. This to me is the matchup of the week, in my opinion. Another Rams versus Lions, Goff versus Stafford matchup. I think that the Lions have the edge week 1. I think that they're the better team at this moment. I think the Rams offensive line is bad and they have some things to work out. So it's very fortunate for the Lions that this is happening week 1 and not later in the season. So I have the Lions in this one. If it was like week 7 or later, I might pick the Rams. But for week 1, I'm going Lions.
And I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go the Rams because I just see this as a revenge game from the playoffs. And This is a game where Stafford could get his win back against his former team. But I also like that Kupp and Puka and Robinson, and they have 2 running backs. I really like the weapons on the Rams much better than the Lions right now. I know you like Jameson Williams, but he's still an unproven commodity as of right now.
Oh, Monroe St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, Laporta, and then should be Jameson Williams' breakout year. So it's going to be a good matchup all the way around, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that's why they put it in prime time on Sunday night. So we get to hear the Sunday night football theme again this week.
And then last matchup of the week, the Jets at the 49ers. Another Aaron Rodgers chance to get back at the 49ers. 2 really good defensive teams, 2 teams that should be pretty good on offense. It will be a very good test for the Jets to see how Aaron Rodgers leads this team against the Super Bowl runner-up from last year. They'll know where they kind of stand. So I'm very curious how this turns out. Before Ayuk and Trent Williams signed, I was going to go Jets over 49ers. Since those 2 signed, I'm taking the 49ers in this matchup.
Dang, dude. I am going to go the opposite way. And I need to tell you why. So Aaron Rodgers was spurned by the 49ers organization. So that's one thing that they have a strike against. And it's only week 1. So Williams isn't presumably in game shape, so he might miss some snaps in this game. Also, Ayuk hasn't been practicing all offseason, so we'll see if that affects him at all. But Aaron Rodgers will play with a chip on his shoulder and pull out the W on this one. But should be a really good close game. I think both primetime games on both nights. Actually, even if you include the Packers and Eagles and the opener with the Chiefs and the Ravens, I think they're 4 very exciting matchups in primetime in week 1.
All right. So how many differences do we have, Jeff?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see 8. And you went the Titans or the Bears because that was the one that I didn't record.
No, I went Bears.
So we're good there. So
I think we have 8.
We have 8 out of 16 matchups different this week.
I know.
It'd be real disappointing if we went 4-4 on those because that's like not fun.
Yeah, I agree. Because I'm gonna sweep it, Jeff.
But I'm with Alex. I'm either gonna lock up Cincinnati or I'm gonna lock up Seattle this week.
I would just say Cincinnati is the more sure thing.
Absolutely, but we know they have started off slow historically. So, and if
but
there's
as
no
you
chase,
pointed out, Joe Burrow has practiced the entire time. You know, like we know New England is terrible.
Well,
The
it would be
Broncos.
great if Brissett got knocked out on the 3rd play of the game, a la Rodgers last year, and then May comes in and rains all over everybody.
I mean, it's possible. The thing is, like, if New England's defense can even remotely slow down the Bengals' offense, they might have a chance. Like, we don't know how successful the Bengals' run game is going to be. We don't know if Jamar Chase is going to play. We don't know if Burrow's wrist is going to hurt him playing in a full game. There's a lot of ifs, but out of all of these matchups, by far, I feel most comfortable picking Bengals over New England.
Yeah, I'll have to take a peek on that. I also like the Seahawks and the Broncos, but
I know
the
you do.
Seahawks. Yep, I love it.
But Bo Nix is used to playing in the Northwest, man. He played at Oregon. He's used to playing up there.
He's a rookie that's not used to playing against pros.
He's a coach's pet. His dad was a coach. He's an offensive mind. He's exactly what Sean Payton wants at quarterback. I agree with you. The weapons he has isn't very great. But hey, they got rid of Tim Patrick, so they must feel pretty comfortable about that roster.
I don't understand that one, but hey, it's not for me to understand.
All right. Well, short episode this time. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. So that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading or listening to this episode, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy, and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. It's week 1, everybody, so until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Everybody.